Exposed, the terrifying, Sinister Rules park rangers must follow to survive in the haunted Rockies. The twisted tales that circulated Pine Hollow sent shivers down the spines of all who lived there. Parents warned their children to be vigilant, to tread lightly in the shadow of the Rockies, where the park rangers followed rules that seemed more like curses. "Obey the wilderness, or it will consume you," they'd say. Emma, a steadfast park ranger, had brushed off the eerie warnings of the Sinister Rules. But the sights and sounds around her were changing. The vibrant wildlife was acting strange. No longer were the bears afraid of humans. They prowled cabins late at night. The owls? They hooted at dawn, a spectral symphony that filled the air with dread. The very woods seemed to whisper, a creeping horror that sunk its claws into her heart. As summer set in, Emma prepared for a weekend camping trip with her daughter, Lily. She thought a getaway was just the thing they needed, a break from the unsettling atmosphere that hung over Pine Hollow like a shroud. The air was thick with the scent of pine when they pitched their tent near a glistening stream, a stark contrast to the dark clouds creeping overhead. Lily's laughter echoed, yet a gnawing tension coiled in Emma's gut, shadows from the trees stretching hungrily, devoid of wind. For a moment, she tried to shake off her unease, but then the lantern's flame flickered in a strange rhythm, casting elongated silhouettes that seemed to dance, mocking her primal fear. A rustling noise broke through her thoughts, and something darted between the trees. Panic clawed at her throat. She forced herself to breathe, rationalizing, "It's just a deer." Yet, darkness clawed closer, tightening around her like a vice. Sleep eluded her, her heart racing, each tick of the clock sharpening her terror. Morning brought no relief. "Lily." The word tore from her throat as she found her daughter's spot empty. Frantic, Emma called again, fear slicing through her like ice. "Remember the rules. Never stray from the path. Never chase sounds." With each passing second, she realized how crucial those whispers of caution had been. What were they protecting her from? Desperation swept through her like wildfire as she ran into the woods, breathless and frantic, searching for the child who should have been right there with her. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Panic twisted within her as she enlisted the help of local authorities. Even the most seasoned rangers cast furtive glances into the dense woods, murmurs of the park's dark history filling the quiet air. Families had vanished without a trace, swallowed whole by the secrets of the land. Emma's pulse thundered with dread as the chilling howl of an unseen creature echoed through the trees, sending a warning that bled into the gathering gloom. Time was running out. The air grew heavy with an impending storm of darkness. Loneliness settled in her bones, but she clenched her fists, knowing she had to confront whatever evil lurked in the shadows, ready to claim her and her daughter as its own. Would she unearth the truth, or would she too vanish, lost to the haunted woods of the Rockies? Emma stumbled through the underbrush, branches scratching at her arms, the chill of the air slicing through her. Every rustle amplified her heartbeat, every shadow whispered her fears. Where was Lily? The words of warnings echoed in her mind, rules meant to protect, but now they only felt like shackles of despair. The woods seemed alive, each step she took deeper into the heart of darkness only intensified the urgency gnawing at her insides. Emma caught sight of a ranger, a tall figure standing frozen near the edge of a dark thicket. "Have you seen her?" she shouted, running toward him, desperation clawing at her throat. His eyes were wide with a mixture of concern and something else, something primal, more instinctual than rational. "No," he said, his voice a hoarse whisper. "You shouldn't be here. You need to turn back." "But my daughter," she caught her breath, panting. "She's lost. Listen. You need to go back." His eyes darted around, wide and fearful, as if he could sense an entity lurking just beyond the tree line. The woods, they're not the same anymore. What do you mean? Emma pressed, fear turning to frustration. There is something out there, something that knows we're here. He shook his head, taking a step back, retreating into the shadows. You have to respect the rules. They are, he hesitated, lost in thought. They're all we have left. A chilling howl erupted from the depths of the wilderness, growing louder, a low, haunting note that twisted her spine. The ranger backed away further, eyes wide with terror. Emma cast a backward glance at the path she'd come down, but the light was fading, shadows closing in like claws. Time was slipping through her fingers, mixed with the gathering darkness. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to concentrate. A memory surged: Lily's laugh, the way she twirled, carefree. Stay close, Lily. Emma screamed into the void, her voice bouncing off the trees. Silence hung heavy in the air, thick like fog, muffling the forest's murmurs. Then, breaking the stillness, the sound of soft, childlike giggles floated toward her from the depths of the trees. It was Lily. A spark of hope ignited in Emma's heart, but doubt quickly followed. No child should be alone out here, especially not in these haunted woods. Ignoring the whispering warnings in her mind, Emma took off toward the sound, each step a battle against her instincts. Branches snapped beneath her feet, and as she pushed deeper, the laughter morphed into something sinister, a mocking echo that taunted her. Mommy. It sounded like Lily, but there was an unnatural quality to it, a sinister undertone that made Emma's skin crawl. Lily. She shouted again, her voice cracking. Panic drove her deeper into the embrace of the trees as shadows danced madly around her. A fleeting figure caught her eye, a flash of white amid the dark bark, swaying slightly. Was it her daughter? Emma's heart raced as she lunged forward. Lily, wait. The laughter stopped abruptly, leaving an unbearable silence. Emma's breath hitched. She stepped cautiously toward the spot. The trees stood still, holding their breath. Suddenly, she froze, her eyes locking on something on the ground, a small, dirted shoe. It was Lily's. Panic clutched her heart like a vice. No, no, no. She whispered urgently, scanning the area. The darkness seemed to thrum with life around her, the air suffocating. Then, from behind her, came a soft, chilling whisper, "You should have obeyed the rules, Emma." She spun around to face the relentless shadows, her breath quickening. The woods held secrets deeper than she could have ever imagined, and they were eager to reveal them. Would she find her daughter, or would she become yet another lost soul in the haunted Rockies? Emma's dread twisted into determination. She would not give up on her child. But as she stepped forward, ready to confront whatever lay ahead, the night grew darker still. And then she realized, what if the evil was not just in the woods but within her? What could the whispers reveal? Were the rules there to protect, or to doom? Emma's heart pounded in her chest like a frantic drumbeat. The woods felt like they were closing in, the darkness whispering secrets she wasn't ready to hear. Lily. She cried again, her voice shaky, more a ghost of hope than a call for her daughter. Her footfalls echoed eerily in the silence, anxiety knotting tighter in her gut. The shadows shifted, and an unsettling rustle followed her steps. She could feel eyes watching, waiting, absorbing her fear. Emma's skin prickled with sensation. She forced herself deeper into the thicket, the promise of her daughter's laughter urging her on, even as it twisted into something sinister. "Mommy," a small voice called again, but this time, it wasn't a laugh, it was a plea laced with a strange kind of mockery. Emma pressed her hands tightly against her ears, desperate to block it out. It felt wrong, so terribly wrong. She stumbled over a root, crashing to the ground, the damp earth soaking through her jeans. As she pushed herself up, she noticed something glistening under the dim light filtering through the trees. It was a bracelet. Emma gasped. It was Lily's, the one with colorful beads she loved to wear. Panic clawed up her throat as she snatched it from the loamy soil. "Lily!" She yelled again, fear flooding her voice. The woods shook with her desperation, the trees creaked as if they were mocking her, their branches bending in a breeze that didn't exist. "You shouldn't have come here, Emma." The voice rolled out like mist, curling around her, chilling her bones. She spun around, every hair on her body standing on end. The ranger's warning echoed in her mind, screaming for her to turn back, but she pressed forward. She had to find Lily. Dark shapes flitted between the trees, just at the edge of her vision. Were they just shadows? Or something more? She inhaled sharply, the air heavy with the scent of decay. It clawed at her throat like a beast. Emma's thoughts ran wild. What if the rules were meant to contain something far worse than they realized? What had this forest seen over the years? What had it claimed? A low growl rumbled from somewhere deep in the underbrush, and Emma's heart nearly stopped. She turned, eyes wide. Was it the woods come alive, or a predator stalking her? Every instinct screamed at her to run. But there was no way out, not with the trees closing ranks around her. Lily! She cried, despair spilling forth. The shadows danced, twisting into monstrous forms, whispering her daughter's name in a sickening chorus. You should have listened. As she turned to flee, a figure emerged from the dark, a girl with tangled blonde hair and wide eyes. Mommy? She whispered, yet it was not Lily's voice. It was a strange echo, mocking yet filled with an eerie familiarity. Emma stumbled back, confusion and terror sweeping over her. Who are you? The girl grinned, her expression a mix of innocence and dread. Come play, forever. A scream lodged in Emma's throat. She realized with horror that the woods fed on fear, and the laughter it wasn't just Lily's. It was deeper, more sinister, a lure that promised release but delivered nothing but eternal darkness. The brush crackled, and from behind her, she felt the oppressive weight of unseen eyes. Shadows elongated and closed in. Emma's pulse raced as she took another step back, but in the darkness, she could sense that whatever lay ahead was far worse than anything behind her. Lily! She yelled again, her voice barely a whisper against the deafening stillness. There had to be a way out. There had to be a way to save her daughter. But as the darkness enveloped her, she heard a soft voice, chilling in its familiarity. You can't save her, Emma, you can only join her. In that moment, the trees around her seemed to shift, trapping her in a grasp of shadow, and she realized with growing dread there was no escape. What had she awakened? And who or what was now listening? A chilling laugh echoed through the night, leaving her with a singular thought: was this simply the beginning? Emma's breath caught in her throat as the shadows swirled closer, wrapping around her limbs like cold tendrils. The familiar, comforting sounds of the forest birdsong, rustling leaves had vanished, replaced by a suffocating silence that pressed against her ears. Panic surged through her veins. She felt trapped, an insect caught in a spider's web, the strands of darkness tightening with every passing moment. Join her, the girl's voice echoed in her mind, chilling her blood. It was wrong, all wrong. There was something off about her. Emma's instincts screamed for her to run, but her feet felt glued to the ground. With horror, she realized the darkness was alive, it thrived on her fear, was pulling her further into its abyss with every heartbeat. Where's Lily? She gasped, more to herself than to the sinister child. For a brief moment, the girl's eyes flickered, revealing something. Was it sadness? Or perhaps a glimmer of hope? But it vanished as quickly as it came, replaced by that dreadful grin. Lily is playing forever. The words twisted around Emma, wrapping her mind in layers of dread. The looming trees loomed taller, their gnarled branches reaching for her in a cruel imitation of hands. Emma took a step back, the damp earth giving beneath her weight. She couldn't stay here, couldn't let whatever haunted this place consume her, too. Remembering the bracelet, she clutched it tightly, a lifeline to Lily. I'll find you. She screamed, her voice rising in defiance against the growing dark. The shadows quivered, swarming closer, and she caught a glimpse of shapes flitting between the trees, figures that looked almost human but were too twisted, too wrong. They moved with grace that belied their sinister nature, eyes gleaming like sharp knives in the night. The girl laughed again, a tinkling sound that sent shivers down her spine. You can't escape. They want you here. You belong with us now. Emma turned and ran, desperation lending speed to her heavy limbs. She tore deeper into the forest, branches clawing at her in retaliation, scratching her skin. She couldn't stop, she wouldn't stop. The ghostly echoes of children's laughter followed her, taunting, teasing a cacophony of innocence lost. Help me! She screamed, her voice hoarse, the sound swallowed whole by the trees. The darkness shifted, and she could feel it chasing her, hungry for her soul. Suddenly, she stumbled into a small clearing. The moonlight broke through the treetops, illuminating a circle of stones set into the earth. Symbols were carved into them, twisting spirals and jagged lines, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Emma's heart raced, a realization flickered like a firefly in the darkness. The stories had been real, the warnings too. Hadn't the ranger mentioned a sacrifice, a price to pay if the balance was disturbed? The thought coiled around her mind, settling like a cold stone in her stomach. Mommy! A voice cried out again, this time piercing through the chaos like a lifeline. It was her Lily. Where are you? But the joyful tone quickly slipped into that haunting echo. You shouldn't have come here, Mommy, you can't leave. No. Emma shouted, voice trembling. The shadows circled closer, encroaching on her sanity. I will find you, Lily. I need to protect you. A laugh erupted from behind her, rich with malice and twisted glee. You've already made your choice. Emma's pulse surged, realization dawning as she pieced it together. What if the only way to escape was to confront the dark heart of this forest? What if she had to play their game to rescue Lily? Show yourself. She shouted, firming her resolve as the shadows pressed in. If you want me, then let me face this. The darkness stilled, holding its breath, and a figure began to emerge. Tall and cloaked in shadows, it unfolded like a nightmarish flower, ghastly and beautiful. Emma's heart thundered wildly, adrenaline flowing. The shape leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Then play we shall. In that harrowing moment, Emma braced herself. Would she lose everything, or might she uncover the truth hidden beneath this malevolent darkness? As the figure extended a hand toward her, she prepared herself for the game, a twisted fate that could doom them both. What horrors awaited her in the depths of the forest's heart? Would she find Lily, or become another lost soul trapped in its depths? The figure loomed closer, its features obscured by shadows, yet Emma felt a chilling familiarity in its presence. The forest seemed to hush in anticipation, holding its breath as she stood at the edge of the unknown. Fear pulsed through her body, threatening to paralyze her once more, but she forced herself to take a step forward. What do you want from me? She demanded, quivering yet defiant. The air thickened, each breath becoming a battle against the rising dread. The shadowy figure chuckled softly, a low sound that echoed through the clearing. A game, dear Emma. Simple as that. You must choose it, gestured to the stones surrounding her. The symbols glowed with an eerie light, pulsating in rhythm with her racing heart. Choose what? She pressed, wishing she had a weapon, anything to defend herself against this creeping terror. Choice matters here, the figure replied, its voice smooth and seductive. You can join us, give in to the shadows, or brave the depths of the forest to save your beloved Lily. But be forewarned, should you fail. The figure's voice trailed off, shrouded in a thick silence that was more telling than any words. Emma's mind raced. The thought of giving in felt like a betrayal, like conceding to the very darkness that had haunted her. But the glimmers of hope tied to saving Lily glowed more brightly with every heartbeat. What happens if I win? Ah, the figure leaned closer, the moonlight catching its eyes like deep abysses with no bottom. Victory comes with a price. One life for another. A chill gripped Emma's heart. What do you mean? The figure straightened, the shadows wrapping tighter around it as if it were a living, breathing entity. To save Lily, you must sacrifice yourself. But don't mistake this for selflessness. any pact has a consequence. Emma felt metaphorical chains binding her. She wanted to scream, to tear away at the earth beneath her feet, but she couldn't afford such weakness. This is a trick. You're lying. The figure only smiled, a terrible stretch of shadow across its features, filling the clearing with darkness. No trick, dear Emma. Choose wisely, for this forest does not abide hesitation. The laughter of children erupted from behind her, echoing and overlapping, taunting her with the sweet sound of innocence twisted by despair. Mommy! Help me! Lily's voice rang out, a painful lilt laced with terror. Emma pressed her palms against her ears, attempting to drown out the nightmare that was unfolding. Stop! She shouted, the sound ricocheted in the oppressive air. I want to let you take her. I want to let you take me. The choice is yours, the figure whispered. Its form flickered, a flickering flame, evoking the image of dancing spirits trapped within the confines of that dark realm, now or never. Emma's heart raced, choking on her fear. The weight of the decision bore down on her. If her soul was at stake, would she be able to save Lily? In that moment, clarity cut through. I will face whatever darkness you throw at me. I'll go deeper into this forest. Sacrifice means nothing to me if it saves her. As those words spilled from her lips, something stirred in the shadows. A hollow wailing cry pierced the night, a monstrous sound that sent tremors echoing through the trees. With a sinister smile, the figure began to dissolve into the shadows. Then let the game begin. Remember, dear Emma, hope is a fragile flame. Before she could respond, the clearing around her twisted and twisted until it felt like the ground itself was consumed by a maw of darkness. Emma fell back, hitting the cold, damp forest floor. All light faded, leaving her engulfed in darkness. She was no longer in the clearing. She was lost, surrounded by whispers, grunts, and the scratching of branches. If Lily was still out there, she had to find her. She had to navigate this labyrinth of horrors. The darkness enveloped her again, but a faint fire flickered in the distance, a signal she couldn't ignore. But what awaited her beyond that glimmer of light? Could she overcome the forest's sinister game? Or was she only stepping deeper into its grasp? The shadows behind her stirred, a chorus of laughter mingling with heart-wrenching cries. Emma's heart pounded anew. She had chosen this path, but now she stood on the threshold of nightmare. Emma stumbled through the blackness, her senses stretched thin. The whispers swirled around her like a swarm of angry bees, each hiss a reminder of what lay at stake. The glimmer of fire flickered, pulling her forward, its warmth an illusion that burned in the icy grasp of dread. With every step, the ground seemed to shift, roots and branches tugging at her ankles as if trying to rein her in. Shadows darted across her periphery, dim forms that coiled and twisted, taunting her with their hopelessness. Lily! She called, her voice echoing, swallowed almost instantly by the all-consuming dark. The laughter faded, replaced by a hollow silence. Just as quickly, the forest groaned, an eerie creaking sound that sent chills racing down her spine. The darkness closed in, a heavy blanket pressing against her skin. Time blurred, seconds stretched into lifetimes as she fought the urge to retreat. Ahead, the flickering fire dwindled, wavering like a dying star. Emma pushed against the tendrils of shadow, guilt creeping in. What if going deeper meant leaving Lily behind forever? But the thought of her daughter's cries stole her breath. No more hesitation. She had made her choice. As she neared the fire, she realized it wasn't just light, it crackled with energy, like the angry tension before a storm. With cautious steps, Emma approached the source. It crackled like a demon's breath. She peered into the flames, her heartbeat escalating again. It shifted and swirled, revealing fleeting images, glimpses of a little girl, a familiar laugh that sent her heart racing. Through the heat, she glimpsed Lily's face, sweet and smiling, but it quickly morphed into fear, her small frame trapped in something dark, clawing and scraping. Emma's stomach sank. She backed away instinctively, gasping. There was an echoing roar, and the forest trembled as if responding to her terror. Lily! She screamed, her throat raw. But the only reply was that monstrous laughter again, shifting from childish giggles to deep, guttural sounds. Emma took a deep breath, mustering what courage she had left. "I'm coming for you," she yelled into the darkness, but the forest only mocked her. An inky figure swept across her vision, darting behind the trees. She felt its cold stare, and her heart raced. It was watching her, waiting, hungry. Clenching her fists, she thickened her resolve. "You won't take her from me." In response, the shadows around her deepened, coiling tighter. Something from the depths of the woods began to slither toward her, its form undulating. The scent of decay washed over her like a wave, sending her instincts into overdrive. "Face me!" she shouted, feeling her legs tremble. The darkness responded, an unbearable weight pressing against her chest. She needed to move, but every direction felt like a trap. Every flicker of hope consumed by the haze of despair. As the figure inched closer, Emma caught a glimpse of its withered face, eyes glinting like shards of glass. A nagging familiarity haunted her, something ancient, intertwined with her fears. "Find her," it whispered, each word dripping with malice. The ground beneath her trembled, and the fire erupted into a pillar of blinding light. She shielded her eyes, the brightness searing. When her vision cleared, she found herself in a vast, empty expanse. There was no sign of the fire or the figure. Instead, an overwhelming quiet blanketed the area. She felt the grip of panic clench her throat. "Lily!" she shouted into the void, desperation clawing at her. "Where are you?" In the distance, the soft sound of a child's giggle broke through. But with it came the darkness, thick curls of it rising like smoke. Emma's heart raced. Was it a trick or reality? She sprinted toward the sound, every muscle screaming, every thought consumed with finding her daughter. Then she saw it, a shape, small and familiar, standing at the edge of a swirling abyss. Emma stopped cold. "Lily!" A flash of darkness enveloped the shape, twisting it into a grotesque imitation of her daughter, smiling with empty eyes. The forest roared again, resonating through her bones. The air crackled with energy, and deep down she felt that the forest had its own life, a terrible force that demanded a sacrifice. Would she give in, or fight against the horrors that slithered through the branches? "Lily!" Emma gasped, ready to charge, her heart pounding with the realization that choice was not merely hers alone to make. As she stepped forward, the laughter morphed into a mournful wail, merging with the howling wind. Could love overpower the malevolence of the woods? Or was it all part of the sinister game? The shadows surged around her, and she felt a hand grasp her ankle, dragging her closer to the abyss. Through the swirling darkness, a question echoed, chilling her soul: what was she willing to sacrifice to save her daughter? The truth loomed like a shadow, ready to envelop her. Emma felt the chill seeping deeper into her bones, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm. The grasp on her ankle tightened, tendrils of darkness clawing at her, pulling her inexorably toward the swirling void. Panic surged, prompting her to grasp at anything within reach, her fingers digging into the earth as she fought against the pull. "Lily! I'm coming!" she shouted, forcing the words through the fear that constricted her throat. The mockery of the forest answered her, a cacophony of whispers and laughter that turned her blood to ice. The contours of the abyss twisted, shadows shifting like restless spirits, eager to consume her. Every inch she was dragged felt like sinking into a nightmare, the ground beneath her feet squirming as though alive. Clenching her teeth, she looked up, desperation flickering within her. The face of her daughter appeared in the mass of shadows, smiling still but with a twisted mockery that sent a sickening churn through Emma. "Fight!" A voice echoed from her memory, her mother's voice strong and unwavering. Emma's resolve ignited. With a primal roar, she summoned all her strength and yanked her leg free from the grasp of the shadows. She stumbled backward, gasping for breath, her heart pounding wildly against her ribs. Steeling herself, she sprang toward the warped figure of Lily. Emma would not leave her behind. She lunged again, but the closer she got, an impenetrable fog unfurled, blocking her path. The air thickened around her, it clawed at her skin and choked her lungs. "You're mine," a voice hissed, dark and dripping with venom. "Join us in the shadows." "Never!" she shouted, fierceness overcoming her fear. The familiar laughter morphed into a shrill scream, echoed by the trees as if the very forest mourned. The abyss swirled chaotically, indistinct shadows darting within. Emma's mind raced. How could she reach Lily while navigating this veil of dread? The thought clawed at her. Perhaps there was a way to break through, reaching out with her spirit, her love, to push back the darkness. "Lily!" she cried, focusing every ounce of love and strength into that single word. "I will find you." The air quivered, vibrating with a strange energy. "Melissa!" The pulse of their connection sparked, lighting the corners of the void. Suddenly, the shadows trembled and receded slightly, revealing glimpses of familiar trees. The laughter distorted, in agony, the black veil ruffled. "Why do you persist?" it howled, a chilling resonance that shook Emma to her core. "What do you have to fight with?" "Love," she declared, closing her eyes momentarily to dredge up every moment she cherished with Lily. Every laugh, every tear shed, every bedtime story, ignited the fire within her. The darkness recoiled, letting out a wretched wail. The shadows lunged toward her, but Emma stood her ground. She felt dizzy, the energy buzzing around her turning intensely bright. "Keep her," she rasped, aware of risking everything. "But you'll never take my spirit from me." In that heartbeat, the world shifted. The shadows surged angrily, enveloping Emma in a frantic frenzy. She opened her eyes, staring into the abyss as it twisted furiously, trying to snuff out her defiance, and then, a figure emerged from the haze, one that made her heart leap, a reflection of darkness and light. Lily stood there, sorrowful and pleading. Emma's eyes widened in disbelief. "Lily! Mom!" Her voice was clear but muffled, as if from a great distance. "Help me!" Emma's heart crackled with desperate hope. She surged forward, breaking from the overwhelming darkness that drew her down. But as she reached out, the shadows twisted again, forming barriers, the pleas of other lost souls swirling around her head, begging her to join them. With every ounce of determination, she grasped the trembling hand of the child, feeling the weight of the darkness clash against the light of her love. "We can make it together!" Emma screamed, as a blast of raw energy coursed through her, and then, everything erupted. The ground shook violently, splitting and heaving as she felt the forest awaken, roaring with anguished rage. The barriers cracked and splintered, and with a final primal howl of freedom, she and Lily began to rise, lifted by an unseen force. But just as escape seemed near, the shadows thrashed, lashing out, attempting to reclaim their prize. A piercing scream echoed through the night. Would they break free, or would the depths of despair swallow them whole? That chilling thought cascaded through Emma's mind. What if, after all this, they never made it? Would she have to sacrifice herself entirely? In that moment of peril, the world around them exploded into chaos, and darkness closed in once more. The dreadful question loomed, thick with anguish: would love prove powerful enough to withstand the shadow's relentless grip? As the ground trembled beneath them, one final thought pierced her heart. What did it truly mean to fight for a loved one? The explosion of energy sent shockwaves through the swirling void, hurling Emma and Lily upward, but just as they seemed freed, the shadows clawed hungrily after them. The ground split open, sending jagged chunks of earth tumbling into the depths of darkness below. "Hold on, Lily!" Emma roared, grasping her daughter's hand tighter as they flailed through the tumult. Every beat of her heart felt like a countdown, a desperate race against time and terror. The pleas of the tormented souls echoed in her mind, swirling like 1,000 whispers carried on the wind. Join us, they pleaded, their voices soaked in sorrow and regret. Emma clutched her daughter as tightly as she could, pushing back the tide of despair threatening to breach her defenses. Lily's face flickered in and out, a fragile beacon fighting against the chaos surrounding them. "Mom! I can't hold on." Fear radiated from her tiny voice, a stark contrast to the swirling void that sought to consume them both. "Yes, you can. Emma cried, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She felt the warmth of Lily's hand, the connection palpably anchoring her to hope. They burrowed deeper into that warmth as shadows lashed out, wrapping tendrils around Emma's legs, yanking at her with malevolent force. "Leave her alone," she snarled, feeling each pull on her being. In response, the abyss roared back, a deafening roar that echoed through the forest, rattling the trees. With every ounce of her strength, Emma summoned memories, feeling the powerful essence of love surge through her veins. But the shadows tightened around them. Doubt crept in like a slow poison. What if love wasn't he enough? Wasn't he that what made them vulnerable, this fierce attachment? The voices of the damned rose louder, inciting fear. Love can be your undoing. Emma shook her head violently. No. You are nothing but a lie. A manipulation. You think you're stronger than the abyss. A clawed hand emerged from the void, its fingers reaching hungrily toward Lily. Emma's breath quickened. Let her go. She surged forward, pushing back against the shadows, summoning every ounce of power she could muster. And then she saw it, a glimmering light flickering at the edges of the cauldron of darkness. It pulsed in rhythm, bright and inviting, promising salvation. "Lily, look!" she shouted, directing her daughter's gaze toward the light. It felt like a promise, a vision of home, a reminder of all the good that existed outside this hellish place. They had to reach it. They had to believe. Rallying her strength, Emma propelled them toward the beacon, ignoring the tightening coils of doom around them. "We're almost there. Just a little further." But as they approached, the darkness lunged forward, engulfing Emma halfway in monstrous shadows. She screamed, a sound of pure, unadulterated fear, echoing off the tree trunks around them. "Lily! Keep going!" "No!" Lily shrieked. The connection strained, a thread between them fraying under pressure as the void screeched its disdain. The darkness rampaged, howling with fury. "You will perish here." It boomed, the voices of the damned mingling in a dreadful chorus. All shall fall into despair in an instant. Emma felt the heat of Lily's desperation, the pull of the daughter whose spirit was now blending with hers. And with that realization, a wave of clarity washed over her. With a fierce yell, she unleashed the raw force of their shared love, throwing it against the shadows. "That's all you have?" Emma's voice broke through the chaos, steady and unwavering. "We are stronger together." In a blink, the world exploded, the shadows shrieked as light burst forth, bathing them in its warmth. But just as it engulfed them, the darkness retaliated with a vicious strike, a final snare that latched onto Emma. She felt herself pulled backward, losing her grip on Lily, the connection thinning like smoke. "Mom!" Lily screamed, the sound cutting through the chaos like a knife. "No!" Emma shouted as the darkness wrapped around her, squeezing tighter. Desperation surged, but the shadows held fast, pulling her back into the abyss. The blinding light threatened to fade, and her voice trembled, caught between planes. "I will never let you go." But as the light dwindled, Emma's world dimmed, leaving only one pressing question lingering in the air: would she ever break free, or would love be lost to the depths of darkness? With a jolt, the void quaked, questioning the bond they shared. It was an echo of the future yet to come. Could love save her daughter from what waited in the dark? A sudden silence flooded the air, an oppressive stillness blanketing the chaos. For a brief moment, time seemed to freeze. The shadows held Emma tight, their icy grip cutting into her skin like shards of glass. She could feel the dark energy wrapping around her like barbed wire, each pulse of the void a promise of despair. "Lily!" Emma's voice shattered the silence, filled with panic and desperation. A frayed connection lingered, like the last fading light of a dying star. "Don't look back. Keep going." But the light that had moments ago illuminated their path began to flicker. Emma felt it retreat, the warmth dimming as the shadows howled their victory. A tear escaped her eye, mingling with an emotion that felt like defeat. In that cruel heart of darkness, a chilling whisper crawled through the tendrils. You sacrifice everything for a fleeting connection. Pathetic. The voices of the damned, now clearer than ever, echoed around her. They sang of loss, of pain, a cacophony of souls lost to the shadows, trapped in eternal torment. I will find you. Emma screamed, defiantly pumping her arms, trying to break free. Each movement was a fight against an unseen force. Struggling against the weight of despair, her heart thundered in her chest, each beat a reminder of life still pulsating through her. The frame of love that bound her to Lily was battling against the void, but she felt the edges growing frayed, as if time itself was uncoiling, and in that critical moment, amidst the flashes of battle, she spotted a figure emerging through the cautiously creeping light, the silhouette of a man, hazy and indistinct yet undeniably familiar. Her heart lurched. Dad! Lily's voice, trembling yet fierce, pierced through the thick miasma of dread that filled the air. The fractured image of her father beckoned, wisps of silver fog swirling around him. Emma could feel the warmth, the love encapsulating their family if only fleetingly. Trust him. Emma's voice came out hoarse, her throat raw from the strain. Lily. Run to him. But Lily hesitated, caught between two worlds, the beckoning shadow of despair and the fragile thread of familial love. Were both paths filled with monsters? Emma fought through the coils of darkness, battling her worst fears. Go. You have to believe. But the shadows wooed and let up. They clawed at both mother and daughter, things twisted and deformed, living nightmares made flesh. Emma clenched her jaw, and with newly found stubbornness she began to push through the darkness inch by inch, the light of hope against the devouring void. Stay together. She cried, drawing from the well of her own strength. But as she struggled to maintain her grip on Lily, the shadows laughed, a bone-chilling sound echoing all around. You think you can keep her? It's only a matter of time before she belongs to us. The ground tremored violently, threatening to swallow Emma whole. Each moment stretched into eternity as she pushed against the dark tides threatening to drown them. The darkness laughed, a deep, rumbling growl that echoed within her bones. Then, something unexpected happened. The shadow tightened its grasp as if sensing her resolve was wavering, and darkness started to bubble, splitting like a churning whirlpool. A horrifying realization dawned upon Emma: the shadows were feeding off her doubt, her fear. The love she had clung to so fiercely was both her savior and potentially her doom. Fight back, Emma. Use your love. A voice echoed through the chaos, one she recognized as her own inner strength taking form. Don't let them take us. Gathering every fiber of willpower, she screamed into the void, we will not be broken. Not today. With that declaration, raw energy filled her core. A surge of love, fierce and unwavering, pulsed through her veins. The shadows screamed, twisting and turning in agony as she pushed the light outward, forcing the darkness to recede, but just as hope shone brighter, the abyss roared with renewed fury. You think you can escape? Your bonds will only lead to your suffering. Emma's heart raced, sweat trickling down her brow as the ground trembled beneath them. She had to move fast. There was no time. As the shadows writhed back, she could almost sense Lily breaking through. Mom! I believe. But just as hope flickered to life, shadows coiled tighter than ever, dragging Emma back. The struggle intensified, a battle against encroaching darkness, and the stakes were growing higher. What would happen if she lost this fight? Lily, don't! And then a sharp pop echoed as something snapped within the void, the frayed connection torn apart. Emma felt her spirit fade, a chilling weight taking hold as darkness surged through her. Find the light, she whispered to herself, but doubt seeped in, clawing at the edges of her resolve. Was it truly too late? The chilling thought settled in her gut. Would she ever free herself from this hell? Or be forever chained to its darkness? In the meantime, an unseen ball of tension swelled. And in the distance, a new sound echoed, a muted thrum, pulsing as if born of both energy and dread. Emma felt it vibrate throughout her being, and dread coiled tighter in her throat. What awaited beyond this veil of darkness? The answer was a terrifying mystery, one that would soon intertwine with the last threads of love and despair. Emma fought through the darkness, heart racing as she clutched tightly onto the glimmering thread of hope that remained. Fear pulsed in her chest, but love for Lily surged even stronger. Those childlike whispers echoed around her, shifting with laughter, only to twist into cries that stung like ice. Each sound drew her further into a vortex, threatening to tear her apart. "Lily! I'm coming!" she shouted into the suffocating void. The shadows clawed at her, wanting to snuff out every ounce of her determination. She was so close now, almost overwhelmed by the loss of hope and the gravity of fear that tugged at her heels, and then, through the swirling chaos, she caught a sliver of something light peeking from beyond the veil of despair. It sparkled like a beacon, urging her to break through, to wrap around it like a lifeline. Just a bit further. She summoned, the image of Lily holding her within a cage of shadows. As she approached the light, it pulsed and throbbed, resonating and filling her with warmth. "You don't belong here." The shadows snarled, pulling her back with relentless force. But Emma pressed on. She thought of Lily's laughter and how it filled the void in her heart. She thought of every moment they had shared, the bedtime stories, the jokes, the endless love. "Hope is a fragile flame, but it's mine," she love shouted, forcing her feet to move against the pull. The darkness coiled tighter, taunting her, "Join us. Give in to the shadows." "Never," Emma breathed through clenched teeth, feeling the tug at her spirit start to fracture. Choose despair. I choose love." Summoning every ounce of courage, she stretched toward the light. As she neared, she felt a warmth surrounding her, a connection that electrified the air. It was as if every happy memory she held streamed forward, shredding the darkness like confetti falling to the ground. Then, she heard Lily's voice again, just beyond the shadows. "Mom!" The melodic cry broke through the chaos, pulling at every fiber of Emma's being. "Help me!" Emma surged, propelled by a newfound energy. "I'm here!" she cried, reaching into the abyss, her arms stretching wildly as she battled through the dark tendrils latching onto her. "I'm not giving up on you." With one final push, she burst through the threshold, breaking into the golden light where Lily stood, at the edge of the forest, but shadows followed, shrieking with rage, clawing at the light and twisting around it like snakes seeking to reclaim their prey. "You think you can leave?" they howled, their voices a cacophony of bitter jealousy and despair. "You're ours." "Yes, ours." "No." Emma roared, feeling the very fabric of her being resonate through the brightness. "I am not yours. I am hers." And with those words, she thrust her arms wide, summoning every glimmer of love and hope, channeling it into an uncontrollable surge. Light erupted from her, consuming the darkness, breaking chains that had held her spirit captive for too long. "Lily, come!" she shouted, grasping for her daughter's hand, pulling her into the warmth. The shadows lunged to reclaim them, but they were met with a blinding flash. With an explosive force, the dark entities were repelled. A moment of silence filled the air as the battlefield transformed. The light blossomed in a radiant explosion that shattered the darkness, scattering haunting whispers, turning cold shrieks into echoes of a distant past. Emma fell to her knees, tears streaming down her cheeks as she pulled Lily into an embrace, feeling the warmth radiate from her. "You're okay. You're okay," she murmured, relief washing over her like a tide after a storm. Lily, with her face framed by the light, looked up at her mother. "Mommy, you came for me." "Always," Emma whispered, heart swelling with a tenderness that rivaled the shadow's cold grip. The forest around them softened, branches trembling and flowers blooming in the warmth of their connection. Slowly, they rose together, the dark woods of the Rockies behind them fading into the twilight. The echoes of lost souls diminished, and the burden of fear lifted like fog in the morning sun. The rules that once tormented them no longer had power. Hand in hand, they stepped out of the shadows, leaving behind the haunting echoes that once threatened them. Emma turned once more to look at the woods, her heart steady. "No more," she promised, stepping into the light and away from the darkness. Together, they walked toward home, finally freed as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the skies with streaks of orange and pink. Emma held tight to Lily. They turned back one last time, knowing they had faced the darkness and prevailed together. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. If you want more exclusive stories, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on what's coming next. Smash that like button now to help us reach more viewers. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, so flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And please, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans show their support.